Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Date today is the 14th of March, year of our Lord, 2025. Welcome to yet another edition of the Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, a.k.a. Moton Noah. Got a nice show for you guys today. March 14th is a significant date here at the Coping Hour. The reason for that is there's a line that I like to do sometimes, where I say, sealed and signed, she's not my lover like Billie Jean, but the kid is mine. I've since learned that some of you think that I made that up. I did not. That is not mine. That is stolen valor on my part. That is from a Drake song. That was was it the last song on Scorpion? I think it was the last one. And it was the track where he had kind of been softly acknowledging the child allegations for the entire record. But up to that point, like, that was the track where he was like, no, Pusha T was right. This was, I mean, what were we, 3 weeks removed from all of the Pusha T stuff? You are hiding a child. Deadbeat motherfucker playing Border Patrol. Shit like that. People forget that the story of Adidon, people can give their flowers to Kendrick if they want. Look, as a Drake guy, I remember sweating more as a Drake guy during the Pusha T stuff than I did during the Kendrick stuff, because like what were his punches? So Push comes out with, was it Infrared? Was that the album? Which was great. Was it Daytona? Yeah. I'm sorry. I think it was was it Daytona? And then the song I'm thinking of, I think, was Infrared. Is that what it was? It was a great album, whatever the album was called. And then in there, he was, sending some shots at Drake. I think, did Kanye produce that? Was that also maybe part of the beef? And then Drake comes out with Duppy Freestyle, which he released on SoundCloud. I was working at Hot Topic. I was the only one in the store when that dropped. And I remember being like, oh my God, Drake pushed the button. He pushed the big red button. We're about to get some shots. It was fine. If I went back and listened to it, maybe there'd be some bars that I was like, oh yeah, that was nice. That was nice. Oh, right. Yeah. It was something like blah, 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 blah. Nike, Mercedes, but you act like you sold for Escobar in the 80s or something like that. And I was like, get his ass, Drake. Like, get his fucking ass. Get Push. Who is this guy? Who cares about Push? And then the story of Adidon came out, and the like thumbnail, the picture that Push put out with the story of Adidon was Drake like doing blackface. You're like, wait, record scratch, freeze frame. You're probably wondering how Drake got here. Isn't he black? Why is he doing like super aggressive blackface? But it did. That did happen. And then you didn't hear from Drake for a few weeks. And then he puts out Scorpion, and he puts out March 14th. Yesterday morning was crazy. I got the news that it's not a maybe. That shit is in stone, sealed and signed. She's not my lover like Billie Jean, but the kid is mine. Sandy used to tell me all it takes is one time, and all it took was one time. Fuck, what is it? And all it took was one time. Shit, we only met two times. But those times are nothing like the new times. If you've heard the song, I don't need to do a very soft recap of what March 14th was. But that line in and of itself was like something that really, really stuck with me. I thought it was such a funny song. Not funny, that's not the right word. I've had a few beers. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying anymore. Drake acknowledged that he had a kid, and everybody was like, whoa. I sat there for like a month being like, yes, Scorpion is like, it's, oh my God, it's so good, blah, blah. In retrospect, like, I mean, probably one of the weaker, I don't know, Nonstop, it was fine. Because I remember when Scorpion came out and Drake was like, okay, so the first like however many tracks is raps, and then that's the A side. And then the B side, as it was referred to, was like, that's where I'm going to do like my R&B shit. And I was like, oh, okay. Summer Games was good. Jaded was something that, Jaded to this day, I think is great. Like Ratchet Happy Birthday is so funny. That's a funny song. That's the word to use for Ratchet Happy Birthday. That's the funny song on that album. Didn't he do like a club record with Jay-Z on that? Was it Mob Talk? No, it wasn't Mop. Was it Talk Up? What was it? What did he do with Jay-Z on that one? I don't know. If I was going to do a March 14th spiel, you'd think that I would have this. I don't know. I said the date out loud and was like, it's also, I don't need to say that. It doesn't matter. You know, I saw something today that struck me. We're sitting here in our 16th floor, high-rise, double balcony condominium on the south side of Chicago. And it is not uncommon for us to hear sirens throughout the day. It's just a thing that happens. But we heard sirens that were like right outside of our door. And so I'm like super nosy. I have a pair of binoculars. I just spy on people all the time. And I heard the sirens go off. It was police sirens. And right outside of our window, down on the ground on the street, I watched a police car pull somebody over. And I was like, this is literally my moment. This is why I have binoculars. And what was interesting was the cop car, which was unmarked, by the way. And so that's why I had maybe a unique or a special interest in what was transpiring. An unmarked car pulling somebody over. This must be some serious shit. Within my eye shot, so I'm like, all right, let's check this out. We're just hanging out with our son. I grabbed the binoculars. And they like pit maneuver. They solo pit maneuver the car. They pull up and like in front of the car so that they can't speed off. And I was like, oh shit, this must be like for real. Grab the binoculars. And so I'm looking down for about 15 minutes, right? And I start to get really scared. I start to get really worried that I'm about to witness another racist event. If you are a frequent listener of the Coping Hour, you will remember, 2 weeks ago at this point, we did a brief segment of me blowing the whistle on racism, that it is still happening in our culture as Americans. We're still doing it, I guess. I thought it was over. I thought racism was over, honestly. It's not. It still happens. And so, and I don't know if this is, I don't need to say that. So, okay, I watched these cops pull these guys over. I'm giving Maddie, my girlfriend, I'm giving her a play-by-play. I say to her, I go, this is basically like if Cops was on the radio. I go, we got 3 military-aged men, one wearing a Bape hoodie, one wearing V-Lone, one wearing a Canada Goose jacket with 2 police officers. I go, they're outnumbered. That's interesting. They all get pulled out of the car, right? And then the police handcuff all 3 of these guys together in the back of their vehicle, like at the trunk of their vehicle. And I was like, holy shit, please don't let me watch something that I'm going to be seeing on the news for the next month. Don't let this happen. Don't let me be boots on the ground for the next, like, racially polarizing moment that we have in our culture. Please don't let this happen. We just did this 2 weeks ago. And then what I watched happen was the police search this vehicle with the 3 guys handcuffed together like they're on a fucking chain gang. And then after about 15 minutes, they just uncuff them and they let them get back in their car and they leave. And I was like, what the hell was that all about? Now, there's no way for me to ever know what happened, but the optics of it, I was like, is this... Look, I don't know. Was there probable cause? I don't know. Did they run a red light, not use a blinker or something like that, and that was used as a vehicle to then pull these guys over? I don't know. I have no idea. But I did witness that happen. And I'm saying racial, I mean, it was 2 white cops and it was 3 black guys. So that's the reason that I'm bringing this up. Or not bringing it up, but using it as like a vehicle for like a, why don't I just end this story? Nothing bad happened. No, nothing bad happened. It's just a little traffic stop. They did search the shit out of the car, though. And the guys did look super nervous. And I was like, what is going on down there? What's going on down there? I'm sitting there with my I'm in the crow's nest. I'm like Private Jackson in Saving Private Ryan. This is a very visual gag what I'm doing here for our audio-only listeners today. I got my binoculars are so high-powered. If you live 2 miles away, I could see you like you were right in front of me. This shit is not for bird watching, all right? I'm spying. I'm doing surveillance. That's what these binoculars are for, okay? No, nothing happened. And I was like, thank God. And these guys just get back in their car and everybody goes their separate ways. And I was like, okay. But speaking of racism, I was talking to Maddie about Hitler a little bit, maybe like 20 minutes ago, because I was shaving my face. And I said to her, I was like, you know something about the woman experience, the female experience, as it were? Something that you just have no concept of this. You'll never understand this. Fellas, that feeling of shaving your face and like not being able to help yourself. When I say, I guess maybe when I segued and I was like, speaking of racism, I was talking about Hitler. Well, I realized maybe in retrospect, maybe how that would have sounded. I can never help myself, right? You just have to do this. You have to do the mustache. You have to. Now, as somebody who hasn't fully shaved their face in probably like 8 years, I've always had this mustache. At the very least, I've always had the mustache. So I haven't done that part of it in a very long time. But like, you have to, right? I mean, when I was shaving a minute ago before I did the show, I was this close. Oh, I was so close to doing like a Klay Thompson goatee, just because I was like, that's a funny bit if I just do a goatee for an episode, and then I didn't, because I was like, this is stupid. And then some people out there are going to be like, no, it actually looks good. You're going to fucking gaslight me into being a goatee guy. I'm not going to be a goatee guy. We got to do a brief domestic conflict in the previous episode and a half over people who listen to the show who are sitters versus standers. Turns out there's a lot of people who stand while they listen to the show. One of you guys was like, I think you just think that everybody who listens to the show is smoking weed and playing Call of Duty while listening to the show. Yes. Though. Like, yes. Actually, yes. No, that is not the case. Some of you are like actual manual laborers and you have real jobs and you just need something to pass the time to get you through your 8 hours, which is great, but I just didn't realize how many of you there were. As like a sub take to that whole thing, goatees, I don't want to repeat history here and fall into the same mistake of being like, there's no way that anybody who listens to this has a goatee. There's no way. But I don't think there's any way. I'm talking like Klay Thompson, like Hell's Angels goatee. There's no fucking way that guy exists. And it's not me. It's not even the host. Because I almost did it. I was that close, but I did not do it. Speaking of another visual joke, did not do it. Did a little Trump hand movement there, a little Trump inflection. Been watching The Apprentice recently on Amazon Prime. The first season of that show, the pilot season, as it were. Not pilot season, that's not how that works. Aired in 2004. It recently got put on Amazon Prime, which is like huge. That's huge. Ever since Trump became president in 2016, you know how hard it is to find a season of The Apprentice? It's been like scrubbed from the internet. It's been scrubbed from like digital spaces, streaming services, synonyms. It doesn't exist. I've always wondered what exactly has happened there. Has it been like a conflict of interest with the network where they're like, fuck you, like you didn't renew your contract. Instead, you ran for president and you fucked around and you won. And so now we're just going to pull the rug. Or is it like from Trump's camp being like, some weird shit happened in this show and we don't really want that to be a reflection of like you as a guy. But then he just like exists as a guy and you're like, all right, well, what's really the difference here? So I'm going to be honest with you. We've said a lot of very unfavorable shit about Donald Trump since he retook office, 2 months ago. I got to tell you guys something. Watching this first season of The Apprentice has been like the funniest experience in the world for me because I just can't believe that he's literally just the same guy. He's literally the same guy. Dude, in the first episode, the actual pilot, the way that you're supposed to use that word, pilot episode of the fucking show, he's like doing an introduction explaining like how successful he is and how important he is. He uses the word bigly. He's like, I have succeeded bigly in this arena. And I'm like, how did nobody check him on that? That's the dumbest shit it sounds so profoundly stupid, but also so profoundly unique to who he is as a guy and the way that he speaks. I can't get over how good he is at like creating good television. And that's the part of it that was interesting to me is when you think about Donald Trump in the way that we know him culturally now, right? Maddie and I were talking about this and we were like, our son will never know who Donald Trump was before he became president. It's a lot like Ronald Reagan. Like Ronald Reagan to Maddie and I, as I was born in 98, she was born in 96. Reagan to us is Donald Trump to our son, or anybody who was born within the last 10 years, right? Like, you have no concept of what the perception of them was before they actually became president, and you know them to be like this super powerful figure that they have, since become, whether you like him or not, right? And like, so to me, Reagan isn't an actor. He's not was he the governor of California? He's not like, well, but that doesn't count. He's not an actor. I don't think of Ronald Reagan as an actor, as a guy who like decided to later pursue politics. I think of him as a guy who like dropped this crack bomb on black people, and that's it. That's what I think about Ronald Reagan. In the way that like our son will think about Donald Trump, I don't know. I mean, hey, we still got to wait 4 more years to figure out what is this arc actually going to look like. What will we be like? This was the thing that Trump did, right? That being said, yeah, it's an awesome show. It's a great show. He's just so funny, because growing up for me and a lot of you out there, with the exception of Akiva's little brother, Lev, who I've been referring to in recent episodes as a 10-year-old. He's actually 11. Lev, happy belated birthday. I guess recently turned 11 years old. So 11-year-old correspondent, a.k.a. field reporter of the Coping Hour, Lev. Like, he doesn't know about, like, you fired. He doesn't know about that version of Donald Trump. He doesn't know about him as like this, like, successful, like, real estate mogul. That's a complete blind spot. That's so interesting to me, because if you watch this first season that's on Amazon Prime right now, you will see a guy who is like the biggest diva and the biggest mean girl in the world, but like, it's funny. And it's like without consequence. And it's like, yeah, you can be an asshole because, like, I don't know, it's reality TV. Like, I almost look at it the same way that as somebody who has seen like 90% of the seasons of Hell's Kitchen, which, by the way, the shows are eerily similar. I think it's because they have a similar creator or producer, Mark Burnett, I believe, worked on both shows. So the format of them, formulaically, they are very similar. But if Trump just like did TV forever, I think that this is not a good take at all. I was going to say the way that we would look at him would just be so different. Well, obviously, if he's just an asshole on TV, that's funny. But when you're an asshole on TV and you're also the president, then it kind of becomes a different thing. But if that was just like still his thing, I don't know. And it's crazy, like, even the people that are on the show and the way that they talk about him, like, I just wonder for them, like, how it's aged. Like, do they feel... are they still aligned with him, like, politically? Because that's not something that they were considering, 20 years ago when this show was on the air more recently than 20 years ago. But you go back to this first season, because that's all that's on Amazon Prime right now. You get what I'm saying here? It's just interesting. So like this, depending on how you view him, how you look at him, this downfall of his character or this uprising of his character, and the way that it was viewed in contrast to when he was the actual president of viewed in contrast to when he became the president of the United States. Very interesting. But like, the one thing I do know is the guy makes great television. He just does. And the problem with that is when you're in the Oval Office and you're with your vice president and you're with the president of a country who has recently, in recent years, been invaded by a global superpower, and you immediately start by saying, this is going to make great television. Dog, you're doing diplomacy right now. You're not making a deal. This is international global diplomacy that you're doing. This is not about making a deal. This is not the same thing that you were doing 20 years ago. But I hate to say it, it's a great show. The guy is just awesome at making television. And speaking of television, recently I watched finally We Live in Time, the Andrew Garfield, Florence Pugh. It's not a rom-com. It's not funny. There's some funny moments, but it's not funny. Sort of a drama that they came out with in recent months. Holy shit, dude. What a moving movie that was. We don't really do spoilers on this show. Some takeaways I had. If that was a movie that didn't have Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield, it would have been, as far as Rotten Tomatoes is concerned, 10% lower than what it actually was. You know what I mean? As of this taping, We Live in Time on Rotten Tomatoes, 79% critic, 83, I think, percent audience score. 84 for me. I said 84, and then I checked Rotten Tomatoes, and I was like, audiences are giving it 83. I was like, okay, critics are scumbags, but at least the audience has got it right for the most part, right? Thought it was great. I think both of them delivered home run performances. It was one of those movies that the pacing of it and this jumping of like timelines, I thought just added to it. Because if you just tell that story the way that it actually unfolded, I think it's a different movie. But the way that it jumps around and it leads you to believe that maybe something bad is happening, but it's actually something good that's happening, and maybe also vice versa. I thought it was great. And then another takeaway, you want to do a little soft takeaway from We Live in Time? I don't know how to do this segment. It doesn't feel very nice. Actresses who aren't afraid to show them. Because, but who are also good actresses, right? Because, if you do that, okay, so who's not afraid to show them? Your brain's probably going to go to, Sydney Sweeney. Probably going to go to her. Not afraid to show them. Shows them a lot. Shows them in a lot of things that she has done. Florence Pugh has got to be up there, though. We got to talk about her. I think Florence Pugh is the better actor, and I don't think it's particularly close. I think she's brilliant. She shows them a lot, though, in a lot of her movies. Remember in Oppenheimer? It happens in We Live in Time. Remember in Oppenheimer where that's just like a thing? She's just they're both just her and Cillian Murphy are just kind of naked, smoking cigarettes, just hanging out. Or the dumbest part of Oppenheimer was when Cillian Murphy and Florence Pugh have sex, and then she just stands up and goes over to his bookcase. And it's what's the author's name? The Batvia Gata? What the fuck was that guy's name? I am the destroyer of worlds, I am become death, that bullshit. They have sex, and then he's just Grandma, this is his very crass segment, so please use the timestamps to your advantage and maybe move to the next thing. But I'm already the ball's already rolling on it, so I'm going to do it. The guy is he's post-nut, and he's just trying to chill out, and she's trying to read to him. It's fucking relax, Florence Pugh. But she just reads him this bullshit. Hey, later in the movie, it happens again. They're sitting cross-legged, both butt-ass naked, just staring at each other, having a conversation. A scene, by the way, that did not need to be in the movie, and if it was in the movie, I would argue that they did not need to be naked. I don't really know what that was for, or who that was for. So it's, okay, so it's her, it's Sydney Sweeney. Who else isn't afraid to show him? I don't like this segment. This is one of those segments where I was I'm thinking to myself as it's happening, if I would not say this to my girlfriend's face, I don't think I should do a segment about it. But there is also, I think, a sort of a subtext to that whole thing where, I don't think this is, that hot of a take, especially for people my age. There's, concrete definitive evidence to suggest, empirical evidence even, to suggest that people my age and younger don't really need to see sex in movies or on TV. It's not something that it almost makes us uncomfortable in some way. And I'm not saying that boobs counts as sex. It's not even a sexual organ. It doesn't even count as something. It's just dudes being it's our, your chimp brain activates. Oh. A woman shows her boobs on TV. Like in White Lotus, a couple of episodes ago in the new season, the British girl with the crooked teeth that everybody adores. She's brilliant. She just gets naked. It is one of those rare moments, I think, in modern television where you see boobs and you weren't expecting to see boobs. I think there's still maybe some novelty there. I wasn't looking at the screen, of course, when that happened, but I'm just saying that there is maybe a little bit of something there when you're not expecting to see it and you do. But then at the same time, that's the same show that you're not expecting to see a penis, and then you do see a penis. You see Lucius Malfoy's penis, and you're like, whoa, what the, whoa, what is this? And then, but we see boobs, and we're like, yeah, boobs. I don't know. I just don't think it's it never does anything for the movie. I'm not trying to be the asshole who's like, why are we showing sex in movies when it does nothing for the plot? But it doesn't, though. It almost never does. You could make it implied, and it would have the same effect on the audience as it would if you actually showed it. So when you go to this like overly, it's like how do I say this? I'm gonna say grotesque. That's not the right word at all. When you do like Tarantino style, it's like how he does gore, but when you do it with sex, like that's not really. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't really want to see it. Usually I save all of this shit. We're halfway through the fucking show, and I've spent the entire time talking about Hitler and boobs and racism. So maybe we should move on. To something else. copingoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description wherever it is that you listen to this program. Actually, before we start doing emails, can I tell you guys something that we've gotten a lot of emails about this thing, and I think it's time that I just finally give you guys, 5 minutes on this, because it's March, and this is the time to do it. Michigan State basketball. A lot of emails being like, Nick, why won't you talk about Michigan State basketball? They are the best that they've potentially ever been, and you haven't talked about Michigan State basketball. I think you guys are right. Can we do a trust tree for just a moment? Why I haven't talked about Michigan State basketball? I'm really scared. I'm really, really nervous. Part of the reason I'm not being funny. Part of the reason I haven't talked about them is because I don't want to jinx it. Because I see how good they are. I've watched how good that they've been, the stretches that they've had in the last 4 months. And listen, hurt people hurt people. I've seen what happens with Izzo-led teams when they are not odds-on favorites. Well, even when they've been odds-on favorites, or like in the conversation of keep an eye on this team in March. I've seen what happens. And I don't want to repeat that cycle, and I don't want to manifest anything, despite the fact that it may seem like I'm doing that right now. Michigan State being as good as they currently are, history would suggest that that is not a good omen for March, the way that maybe we're all making it seem that it is. But despite that, I do think that it is worth talking about them, because we have not done that in a significantly long time. So if we go back to the beginning of the season, 3 games in, they lose to Kansas. Yeah, I mean, the Champions Classic is just it's so give or take, like how Michigan State's going to do that at the beginning of the season. Usually it's take. It's not a lot of give for that. Usually we fucking lose. This year it was to Kansas. In other years it's to Kentucky or it's to Duke. There was the 1 year, maybe 10 years ago at this point, where Kentucky was number 1. We might have been number 2. Was it the year with the Harrison twins? No, I think they went like 38-0 at some point, so it could have been. I don't remember. No, it was like Willie Cauley-Stein, I think is what it was. Maybe Karl Anthony Towns. I don't remember what it was. Michigan State beat Kentucky in the Champions Classic, and I was like, holy shit, this is the best team I've literally ever seen in my life. And then I don't remember how the tournament went that year, but I know we didn't win a national championship. So usually those games don't go our way. But in November, Michigan State beats North Carolina in overtime. If that was not a signal of what was to come, there's literally nothing else. As Michigan State basketball fans, for those of you out there who are, you will agree with me when I say that North Carolina is one of the boogeymen. North Carolina is not a team that Michigan State ever beats. Ever. 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 It doesn't happen. Ever. And I'm not just talking about, 2009 in the national championship? Me as like an almost 11-year-old, I cried when we lost the championship. Was that Tyler Hansbrough? Fucking talk about Hitler at the beginning of the show. Tyler Hansbrough. Holy shit. Who else would have been on that team? Maybe Kendall Marshall? Maybe Kendall Marshall? Does that sound right? Harrison Barnes? Was Harrison Barnes on the 2000? No, I think Harrison Barnes was on the team in like 2011 when we played North Carolina on an aircraft carrier on 11/11/11, which is also the day that Skyrim released. It's like Harrison Barnes. Maybe Kendall Marshall was on that team. No, there was a different guard. Who was the guard? It was like an actual guy too. That team, that North Carolina team, like had some actual dudes on it. Michigan State had like Brandon Wood and Draymond. Draymond was on that team. I think Adrian Payne was maybe a freshman. So he was an underclassman at the time. The point being, Michigan State does not beat North Carolina, right? It just doesn't happen. Well, they beat them to improve to 6-2, and then proceed to go on like a 12-game winning streak. So by the time they get to February, Michigan State is 18-2. They're 9-0 in conference play. And then the goddamn West Coast trip. It's so funny the way that this played out. Like, when the Big Ten expanded and they were like, hey, we're adding UCLA, we're adding USC, we're adding Oregon. Everybody was like, how is that going to affect sports that aren't college football? Even college football, you do get affected. But, like, that travel schedule and the time differences and everything that comes with it. Like, even the West Coast teams, like, coming to the East Coast. Like, if you're UCLA or any of the West Coast teams, you pick one, and you have to go to Piscataway, you have to play Rutgers on a Saturday night, dude, you're screwed. Because you're jumping 3 hours. The flight alone is going to be like 5.5 hours. It's a whole thing. And that's exactly what happened. Michigan State goes on their West Coast road trip. They go and play at USC and at UCLA, and they lose both of those games. And it's starting to feel like, are the wheels coming off? And then, so they lose 3 out of 4, and then they close the season on like a 7-game winning streak. And 4 of those in a row were versus number 13 Purdue, number 12 Michigan, number 16 Maryland, number 11 Wisconsin, and then again, number 17 Michigan. So they're kicking the shit out of ranked opponents to close out their season. They're not losing to anybody. And that's where it comes down to, like, I don't think there's a team in college basketball right now that is hotter than Michigan State. There may be teams that are better. I know as of this taping, Cooper Flagg rolled his ankle like 3 hours ago. We don't know, as of this taping, what that looks like. There's been no MRI medical information that has come out. So I don't know what's going to happen to Duke in the tournament. Do they have Cooper Flagg? Do they not? I don't know right now. Are they a better team? The record would suggest, and the personnel would suggest that, and it's Duke. Like, yeah, probably. Duke, sneaky, another one of those teams that Michigan State just never beats, unless it was 19, when it was the Zion, RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish, Jack White led Duke Blue Devils. A team that, if you're ever going to beat Duke, can you fucking believe that that was the year that Michigan State? Dude, the gif of Cassius, like Michigan State fans out there, brother, this is also ingrained in your brain. The Cassius gif of him like running out the clock on the sideline and kind of like, this is very visual what I'm doing, kind of like getting out of the way a little bit. I don't know, Jim. Like getting out of the way just a little bit so that he can keep running out the clock and he doesn't get fouled. It's just in my brain. And that was the year. Even Duke in the tournament that year, though, was not good. I think it was the game before that they almost lost to UCF. They should have lost to UCF. I was sitting in a gas station McDonald's hybrid parking lot on break from Hot Topic, watching that game on my phone. I was like, oh my God, we're about to play UCF and we're going to roll them. No, we got Duke. And I was like, shit. And then we ended up Kenny Goins, bop, right between the eyes. Just the Red Sea just parts. Kenny Goins just has the shot of his fucking life. We beat Duke. So I say all of that just to say I don't know if there's a team that is hotter than them. There may be a team that's better, but there's nobody who's riding lightning the way that Michigan State is right now going into the tournament. And, like, you know, you could go down the roster and you can talk about Jaden Aikens and you can talk about Cohen Carr and all these guys. And I like Zapala a lot and Kohler a lot. But what pisses me off, but like in an endearing way, is I would love to know where Tom Izzo has this factory for point guards. Dude, Trey Holloman is literally just Cassius Winston. It's the same fucking picture, .jpg. They are literally the same guy, down to the number, down to the headband, down to their build. You know how hard it is to find a guy that's built like Cassius Winston? You have like reverse T-Rex arms. Like, it's something about their wingspan, like the way that their arms are. It's the exact fucking same. They're the same guy. Where does Izzo get these? And you talk about the Michigan game. I don't know if you saw this. I don't know if you heard about this. So Michigan State basketball very famously has a tradition on senior day where, you know, you get to the end of the game and all of the seniors check out of the game and they kiss the Spartan logo at half court and then they get their applause and they walk off. Well, when this happened, was it Kohler that was trying to, or no, it was Zapala, I think, that was trying to walk off the court. And it was during a free throw. And so 2 Michigan players were standing at half court on the logo. And then I think it was Apollo, or maybe it was Kohler, goes to kiss the floor and walk off, but the players are in the way and they won't get out of his way. So Trey Holloman walks over there. He starts pushing and shoving, and he wanted to throw hand, pop, 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 haymaker, 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 get the fuck out of the way. And then this little scuffle starts at half court. Michigan State fans, very upset about this. Even Izzo was like, show some class. Like, come on, Dusty May, musty day, show some class. I don't know about that. It's just kind of like where players stand during free throws. So, I'm going to be mad about it because it's Michigan. And, it's funny to be like, we should literally fight them at half court. That is very funny. But I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I don't think those guys were thinking. I don't think they were conscious of where they were standing in the moment and, and you know what I mean? I just don't think. And so Izzo being like, look, we didn't celebrate winning the Big Ten title outright after we beat Iowa, which was a crazy game, by the way. Michigan State was on a 100-6 run to close out the game. We didn't celebrate on their home court because it was their senior day. It's like, yes, that is a very classy thing to do, but I just don't really fault the Michigan players for just not really being in the moment for that, even if it would be very easy for me to do that as a Michigan State fan. I do not do that. Michigan State basketball going into I don't care how they do in the Big Ten tournament. I think they're probably going to be a 2 seed either way, even if they end up winning the whole thing. It's like, you already won the Big Ten outright. I don't really care. You're still going to get the banner. If that is, I've read a bunch of bracketology, the way that things could shake out, they could end up getting 1 seed. The odds are that they're going to end up being the 2. That's fine. That is completely fine with me. Please put us in the same bracket as Gonzaga, though. Please let that happen. Because I want to kill them. Hate them. Hate Gonzaga. Hate them. copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description, wherever it is that you listen to this program. Got a lot of emails this week. Where do we want to go? Let's do this one from Brendan. Brendan, welcome to the show. Subject line: youth basketball, strange situation. Hey, Nick. Hope you're doing well. I need your take on what happened to my youth basketball team tonight. For context, I'm 22, and this is my first season coaching. The age group is 7th and 8th graders. It has been a great experience, and I love seeing the kids improve each week. This is a small league run by a local charity group with 4 teams of 10 kids. We are now 2-3, but tonight has me mad. This game was against the best team in our league, the Wolverines, who we are now 0-2 against. They are undefeated and have 2 of the best players in our league, practically Kobe and Shaq, a 5'11" point guard and a 6'1" center who both start on the local middle school team. Anyways, can I break the email for a second? 7th and 8th grade, and there's a kid who's 5'11" and 6'1"? What the fuck? Back to the email. Anyways, we were down 13-20 with 13 minutes left, but went on the wrong end of a 29-6 run for the next 12 minutes. But here's where the true blasphemy begins. The blasphemy does not, just to break the email, the blasphemy seemingly not beginning after allowing a 29-6 run. Folks, there's still more. There's still more. Back to the email. In the final 7 seconds, the Wolverines steal the ball away and go on a fast break. On this play, my player is shoved by the Kobe player into the Shaq player attempting a layup. The ref then calls the foul on us and has, quote-unquote, Shaq shoot free throws, who misses the first 2. Then, to my shock, the ref gives him the ball to shoot again, which he misses. Now, on the 4th free throw, the referee looks at my bench and goes, "Come on, guys, let's clap for him," which I quickly turned around and said, "Do not clap for this. This isn't cool." He then misses the 4th and 5th free throw. The ref looks at the parents for number 6 and says, "Let's clap for him. Let's get excited," as he finally makes it. And then he put this in bolded letters, which they counted. So we lose 50-19. The ref then told me it wasn't sportsmanlike to tell my kids not to support the other team. I told him I didn't agree with the foul or to let, quote-unquote, Shaq keep shooting so their team could get to 50 points. Our team already lost. We shouldn't be extra embarrassed by the other team. This is not creating a love for the game and true unsportsmanlike activity that happened. And the true unsportsmanlike activity that happened, not me speaking against it. Am I wrong for telling the kids not to clap? Are you with me that this was an insane thing to allow given the score? Or am I overreacting and should have let the kids clap for the other team? Sorry for the length. No, bro. This is insane. That's crazy. That's like shit that makes you not want to play the game anymore. There's nothing worse than being in middle school and getting murdered like that. I remember being in, this isn't quite the same, but we were in, I was in fifth grade. And in my Little League football team, we were 8-0. You play 9 games. We were 8-0. In our last game of the year, I was playing for Howell. We were playing Heartland. Heartland was not our main rival, but it was one of our rivals. 44-8 on our fucking head. 44-8. Our league had a rule that when you went up 3 scores, no extra points. So it's like if you were up 18-0, that's all that it took. If you were up 18 points, you had to, before the game, you submit who your 3 or 4 best players are to the officials. And then if you go up by that amount, those players have to come out of the game until the score gets back to within 3 scores, right? Which is a very reasonable and fair thing to do because otherwise you're watching kids just get the shit kicked out of them. Imagine when you're down 44-8. It was like 44-0 at halftime. At that point, all of us want to go home. But it's like, okay, well, all of their best players have been out. Well, but they're still beating the shit out of us. So I'm just thinking about it through the lens of like the kids that are playing for your team, and you're just watching a 5'11" and 6'1" kid. Look, you didn't give me measurements for the kids on your team. Who's the tallest player you got? At maybe 5'8" or something like that. You don't have any answers for these kids. Why is a kid who is 6'1" getting treated with all due respect? This is a kid. I'm not trying to be an asshole, but I don't know him. Who fucking cares? Like he's a fucking Make-A-Wish kid. What is this? This is a church league? Like what? Well, you did say it was a charity league, so it was kind of the same thing. No. That's not sportsmanship. That is not sportsmanship. Like the official is in on the take at that point. Is it worth launching an investigation to see if he was like running some action? Did you see any suspicious characters in the bleachers? Was there anybody who had some slicked hair, maybe wearing like a turtleneck or like a blazer or some shit like that? Guys taking action on this game? Was there an over-under of 41 points or 31 points, whatever the math on this would be? Dude, I'm not being funny here. If my team is down 49-19 and a kid gets 6 free throws, 6? He gets 6 free throws? The biggest kid on the court? Just so that they can get to fit. Come on, guys. I'm throwing hands. Like somebody is going to the hospital. It might be me. I don't know. Whoever I end up fighting, if it's the coach, if it's the kid, if it's the official, if it's the kid's parents, I don't care who it is. Maybe they can fight and they send me to the hospital, but I'm going out fucking swinging because that's fucked up. And I'm setting an example for these kids that you cannot stand for this shit, right? You cannot just in the name of sportsmanship. What about us? What about us on the bench? Look at the scoreboard. We're getting the shit kicked out of us. That's what's happening right now. We are demoralized, we're demotivated, and we want to go home. And you're going to give this little fucking piece of shit 6 free throws so that he can feel better about himself? You're going to make it seem like he's the fucking Beatles playing the Ed Sullivan Show trying to pump the crowd up so that he can make his 6th free throw attempt after he bricked the first 5? Fuck that. That's crazy. That's crazy. There has to be an investigation launched on that. Tom, Bathroom Tom, Wizards fan Tom. Some of you may know him by his preferred nomenclature, Hot Tom. Are you into youth sports litigation? Because something fucking happened with this guy, and I don't know what it was, but we have to get to the bottom of it. Because no, you were not overreacting. This is fucked up. This is wrong. Thank you for the email. You know what else is fucked up? You know what else is wrong? Shaq. Speaking of Shaq, Shaquille O'Neal. You guys seen that he's had a bad week? He's had a really bad week. And it's not even just about, look, I'm about to do a segment about the Pistons. It's not even just about the Pistons, but just for the sake of talking about them, right? So Shaq, the Pistons play the Blazers, and he's like, Chauncey's done a great job coaching that team and blah, blah, blah. Who? Who's done a great job coaching the Pistons? Chauncey Billups, according to Shaquille O'Neal, has done a great job. Mr. Kazam himself has done a great job coaching the Pistons. Strike one. He also called the Pistons boring. He's like, who cares? They're boring. They're boring? They're like the best transition team in basketball. Like, that's it. That's just empirical fact. I'm not a numbers guy. This is not a numbers show. But, like, you're just saying shit. Like, that's it. And, like, don't they lead the league in dunks, too? I swear they got to be top 5 in alley-oops. Just between Cade and Jalen Duren alone, which is the whole thing. You want to talk about a lob connection in the NBA that, like, who rivals it right now? I don't know. That's not what the segment's supposed to be about. This Cade Cunningham to Jalen Duren lob connection right now is something that we as Pistons fans have not seen since... Yep. Incredible. And I'm so happy. I haven't seen this in a while. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention. There was a stretch of games in the middle of the season where Jalen Duren kept trying to throw lobs to Asar after he came back from his blood clots. It never cashes. It never fucking works. Have I missed one? Has one hit that I just didn't see? Drives me insane to see that happen. So Shaq's been getting a bunch of shit because he said that the Pistons are boring and because he said that Chauncey is their coach. And it is very funny to me that there is this sort of cultural 180 that's happening on the inside the NBA, guys. As soon as, who was it, NBC or ESPN or Amazon, whoever it ended up being, that had tried so hard to keep that core together because of how beloved they were. And now suddenly everybody's like, I don't know. I don't think this is actually a good product. Now, some of you out there are going to be listening to this and you're going to be like, oh, I've been banging this drum for a long time. That Shaq and Co. on the inside the NBA panel is not actually a good marketing tool or a good reflection of how most people consume the NBA, or it's just hater shit and that's all they do is they're a bunch of insecure guys and they just hate on the players. I've never cared about that talking point, to be honest with you, because I view it for what it is, where it's like, it is just casual, not appealment, that's not a word, but it is just meant to appeal to the guy who just got off of work and just wants to watch some games, and you have 4 guys just up there just kind of hanging out and shooting the shit and being funny. I think it's an entertaining show. But like recently, it's not even just recent, this has been an epidemic for a while. They're just hating. They're just like straight up hating. The other thing that happened this week was like Zion has a triple-double. Shaq's like, 20 points isn't enough. You got to give me more than that. You got to keep your voice down unless you give me more than 20 points. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. That's insane. That's crazy. Because you're just stripping it of its context and you're just being annoying just for the sake of being annoying. And then when you talk about it in terms of through the Pistons lens, I'm like, are you still mad that we stole a ring from you? Is that what this is about? You do the thing, how many rings does he have? He won 3 with the Lakers. He won 1 with the Heat. Is it 4? Does he have 4 or is it 5? And I'm forgetting about 1. Are you mad that you didn't get the extra ring because the Pistons bitched the fuck out of you 20 years ago? Is that what this is about? Because if that's what this is about, then that's fine with me and I get it. Like, I would probably still feel some type of way too. The Pistons are not boring. They're not boring. As of this taping, ladies and gentlemen, by the time you're listening to this, it's probably changed by now. The Pistons are tied for the number 4 seed in the Eastern Conference with the Milwaukee Bucks and the Indiana Pacers. I can't believe that this is my life right now. I can't. I can't. Like, when was the last time, Pistons fans, that you saw free agents work? And if you want to give me one example of a guy, when was the last time that all of them? What about all of them? Well, every single one. Because the Pistons, how many guys did they sign this last year? Couple. 3 came to mind off the top of my head. I'd have to pull the roster up. But like the Hardaway thing happens and you're like, that kind of felt like it was always going to happen, honestly, just through the Michigan connection. The Tobias thing, I think a lot of us, we spent the whole year as Pistons fans, like the Tobias thing was in the works for a long time. We had been hearing those like soft rumors, seriously, for a really long time, like months and months and months. Like, hey, 2024 summer, expect Tobias Harris is going to be a Piston. A lot of people were like, whatever. I think a lot of that came with the fact that we're starved for like a name, like an actual guy. And then the other piece of it is I wonder if subconsciously people just tied Tobias to like a really weird point of Pistons history where we were in purgatory and you're going to win 37, 38 games every single year. And that's kind of it. You might make the playoffs, but like you'll probably be like the 9th seed. You'll just barely miss it. Something like that. And so people were just kind of like, how about when he shoots like 9 middies in a game and makes all of them? How about that? How does that make you feel? Happened against, was it the Portland game that happened? Yeah, feels pretty good. Feels really good. How about Malik Beasley being the best 3-point shooter that we've had since, well, statistically it would be Sadiq, and then before that it would be Blake Griffin, and then before that it's like fucking Allen Houston or something like that. So, you talk about Pistons fans being starved for like a guy, like a name. Well, first of all, how about Cade Cunningham? How about that? How about the fact that he has completely blossomed? I saw a headline that Jeff Teague said that he's a future MVP. Holy shit. At this point, Jeff Teague is essentially Nostradamus. So if he's saying that Cade is a future MVP, holy shit, right? Some very, very soft communication coming out about first team All-NBA as it relates to Cade Cunningham. I still think he'll be second. I still think he will be second because it'll be Shea and like Donovan Mitchell. I don't know how, you know what I mean? Like if we're going to be talking about Shea as the potential MVP or at worst, the runner-up for the MVP, which by the way, very quick take, little bite-sized take. If Jokic isn't the MVP, I don't know why we have the fucking award anymore. But it'll probably be him and then Donovan Mitchell just through virtue of them being on pace to win, I should say, 70 games as of this taping. You just can't not reward their best player. So probably be them. I just think it would be really hard unless the Pistons just go on an absolute tear and Cade is putting up, like 30-point triple-doubles to end out the season. It's just going to be really hard for him to make first-team All-NBA. But another thing that has been interesting to me to follow is, did you see the other night when the Pistons were playing the Blazers? Isaiah Stewart got yammed on super hard. What's the kid's name? Too Many Cameras? Is that the guy's? Too Many Cameras. Gets a full head of steam, charges down the lane, yams on Isaiah Stewart. Tobias Harris goes to Twitter. He's like, oh, fuck that. Isaiah Stewart, all NBA defensive level, caliber player. That's my guy right there. I was like, whoa, I haven't really thought about that. I don't really think about all defensive teams too much. But could you imagine that? Ron Holland makes an all-rookie team. Cade Cunningham makes an all-star team and an all-NBA team. And then Isaiah Stewart makes an all-defensive team? Are you kidding me? And that's something, just to go back to the Ron Holland piece of the whole thing. If he makes an all-rookie team, I would be curious. No, this is coming to be in real time, so I haven't prepped this or looked this up beforehand. I would be curious to know how many consecutive years the Pistons have had a player on an all-rookie team. Because if you go back to 2020, the 2020 to 2021 season, I'm sure it was Killian, Sadiq, and Isaiah Stewart. I think Stu and Sadiq both got on there. If it wasn't both, it was one of them. And then the 21-22 season was Cade. Who am I forgetting? Who was at the back of that draft? Was it Isaiah Livers? I don't think we had anybody that year because Cade ended up getting hurt. What ended up happening that year? No. He would have been on there. I'm thinking of his second year when he got hurt. So Cade, and then the next year was when Cade got hurt, but it was Ivy. Ivy got on there. And then the next year was Asar and all rookie. See, this is what I mean. I don't know if this is a good little sub-segment to the segment because I don't have it in front of me. I should have maybe thought about this beforehand. This is, again, just coming to me in real time. It's been a lot of years in a row that the Pistons have drafted really fucking well. And so you talk about the success story that they've had this season, and you're like, whoa, impressed. Like, where did this come from? It's been festering. Like, it's been growing. The Pistons weren't a bad team last year. What their record would suggest was a bad team. If you looked at their record, you would just be like, that would indicate a team that fucking stinks. They had good players. They had horrible leadership. They had horrible management. They had the worst fucking coach of all time in Monty Williams. That's all that it was, right? And so when you finally get those guys going downhill, you finally get them playing well, they're on the doorstep of the number 4 seed in the Eastern Conference, and we are halfway through March. What the hell? Imagine that. Imagine that, Pistons fans. So then it's like, and I've gotten a couple emails about this, like, who's the preferred matchup? Who do you want the Pistons to play? The Pacers. However this shakes out, I want Detroit to play Indiana so bad. Because I think all of us, I don't want to speak for all of us, but I am speaking to Pistons fans. We want that to be on again. We really want that rivalry to be on. Because you look at the Pistons and the Pacers and the physicality that they played with this past, not I say this past season, but in the 4 games that they played each other this year, holy shit. It got chippy. And there were some good games in there. Halliburton was recently asked about this, and they were like, is it a rivalry? And he's like, not yet. He's like, maybe if we play each other in the playoffs. Pistons Reddit has had sort of a bit of a mixed bag in terms of their response to that. Some people, do you remember at the beginning of the season, Celtics Media Day, I think is when it was, Jaylen Brown was asked, like, hey, when you think about guys like Hauser or Peyton Pritchard and, the tertiary guys in the Celtics roster, like, how do you keep them involved and how do you allow them to grow when it is such like there are just so many mouths to feed on the Celtics? And Jaylen Brown said something to the effect of, well, when you play a team like the Pistons or like the Wizards or whoever, that's when you as the star, as like a Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum type character, Drew Holiday, etc., are able to take a back seat when you play some of the bad teams and you let these other guys eat a little bit. Pistons fans were really mad about that, which I thought was really disingenuous and fucking stupid, because what he was saying was right, and if he said it about literally any other team that wasn't the Pistons that also stunk, you would have been like, yeah, like, fuck them. But then he says it about you, and then what was the most recent history on that? The Pistons kicked the shit out of the Celtics a couple of weeks ago. Jaylen Brown wasn't playing, but it was still very, very funny, right? So I'm saying all of that just to say, I don't actually remember how I got to this point. I'm going to move on to something else. Did you see that the Pistons and the Wizards got into... Oh, the Pacers. I'm sorry. The Pacers. No, I do want to finish that point. I don't think we can call it a rivalry until you're actually contending with the contenders, right? When you're actually going toe-to-toe with it, wasn't it a year ago that the Pacers were in the Eastern Conference Finals? So unless you're actually playing against them in a series... and it's April, right? The regular season is over and you're still playing basketball. I think that's when you can finally start to say, we're getting back on the horse with this whole thing. I want it to be the Pacers really, really bad. I think that's going to be an awesome series. Did you guys see, this is what I was going to say. Pistons play the Wizards. Jordan Poole has a moment where he's like, I'm going to fight someone. He's like, I'm a tough guy, and I'm going to fight someone. And then Jalen Duren shows up, and he's like, what's up? I'm a tough guy, too. I like to fight. What's up? And Jordan Poole, in fractions of seconds, decides that he's not a tough guy, and he's actually a fucking loser. And he's like, I'm actually not going to fight anybody. I was just kidding. This was not real. Thought that was pretty funny. Speaking of Shaq and Jalen Duren, what was the quote? So Shaq says the whole thing about the Pistons, and then Jalen Duren comes out. He says that they're boring and that, who cares and blah, blah, blah. And Jalen Duren's response to that was that he's big on earning the league's respect and won't shy away from expectations. Quote, when it's time, I just want both of the clips back to back when he realizes that we're here and when he acts like he didn't know. God damn, what a quote. That's the only response. That's literally the only way to respond to it is by saying what he, like, I don't know if it's media training or just like him being so centered with like where the Pistons are at and like it's just such a mature thing to say. Get his ass, Jalen Duren. That's the Pistons, folks. That's how they're doing recently. Get in here. The Pistons are, I don't want to say the bad boys are back, right? I need to see Isaiah Stewart get suspended one more time. I need one more suspension from Isaiah Stewart. I'm saying this on March 13th is when I'm taping this, 2025. Give me one more. Oh, Rashawn Holmes, that little piece of shit. I spent years falling on my sword for Rashawn Holmes just for him to deliver the elbow to Asar Thompson that he did. Jesus Christ. I thought he was going to break his jaw. He didn't, though. He was fine. Popped right back up. You could hear the impact, though. Oof. The Pistons. Can you believe it, folks? They are incredible. And to wrap things up for you today, folks, there's a couple more emails that I wanted to read, but we're running long. I've wasted way too much time in this episode, so I'm going to have to just kick the can down the road on them. There's something I want to tell you guys about. Premier League coming to America. Was it an episode or two ago that I was like, yeah, like, whoa, pre-sale going live in a couple of days. And it's, who is it? Everton, Bournemouth, Manchester United, and West Ham coming to the United States. They're doing a little circuit. Chicago, New Jersey, Atlanta, and maybe one other city. I was like, we just have to figure it out. I don't know how we're going to do it. I don't know how we're going to. Guess what? Pre-sale went live today as I'm taping this. Guess who's going to be there? Guess who is going to be there supporting? I don't know yet because this weekend, Leicester plays Manchester United. And for those of you who are keeping track at home, as long as Leicester scores a single point on anybody for the rest of the season, that is who I'm going to root for. This Sunday, Leicester and United are playing. I think that's going to be a draw. Keep an eye on that, because if that happens, and in July, when they come to Chicago, they come to the United States and they play these preseason circuits, if I get to root for like De Ligt and Bruno Fernandes, and like Luke Shaw and Onana and all these guys, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. I'm going to lose my mind. Some of you out there have been like, you're already an Everton fan. Just root for Everton. I'm not there yet. Oh, you're a Bournemouth fan. Root for Bournemouth. I'm not there yet. Maybe I will be after I watch these games. I'm going to be there. I'm not just going to be there. I'm going to be at midfield. Like, the seats are so good. We got in for the pre-sale. We got the tickets. Maddie and I are going to be going with, so it's my in-laws. So it's her sister and her husband. Dude, I get to see these teams play in July. I can't explain. And it's not even that we get to see United play Bournemouth. One ticket buys you get to watch both games. So I'll get to see Everton play West Ham, and then I'll get to see United play. Dude, what a day that's going to be. I really cannot describe how excited I am, because this is something that I may potentially never get to do again, is see Premier League teams playing on American soil, right? They come here all the time, usually once a year, but like, it's not, I don't know, it's such a hot ticket. I don't know. I'm so excited. I'm going to actually get to go. Officially, tickets purchased. This is going to happen. The stadium is less than a mile away. We're going to be there. We're going to be there. I will be able to look at Bruno Fernandes and be like, that's it. I'm going to be like, I'm going to be able to look at Onana and net and be like, you stink, but you'll do for now. But you will do for now. Dude, it's happening. It's going to happen. If we're doing soccer, I'll do this really quick and then I'll get you guys out of here. Champions League round of 16, second leg. What did I watch? I watched Liverpool and PSG. Oh my God. What a matchup. Talk about living up to the hype. So the first leg, it was like PSG dominates for 85 minutes. At that point, Liverpool had, one shot on goal. But then they just got that one. Darwin Nunez was like, assist, goal. Liverpool goes up 1-0. And PSG fans are left to be like, what the fuck just happened? And then the rhetoric surrounding the second leg was like, PSG actually feels emboldened and more confident despite losing the first leg. And then it starts, and you're like, it's in Anfield, and what an atmosphere that was for that game. Talk about the crowd actually playing a factor. It absolutely did, because it was just so loud. They were so rowdy. The TLDR of it was like, no, it was actually just like a super competitive and super physical game. That was a super they like weren't booking anybody until like, I don't know, like the 47th, somebody got booked for like some bullshit that had been happening for the entire game. I was like, oh, so now we're giving out yellow cards? Okay. There's only like a couple in that one. And then it eventually, it goes the distance. It goes the full 90. I'm really watering this down. I'm sorry. But it goes the full 90. And then we do the extra time. We do the full 120. Still just can't. Well, wait, no. No, wait, no. How did this happen? Fuck, man. Why am I doing this recap if I can't remember it? How did they score at the beginning of the game? Because it would have had to have been 1-1. God damn it. I'm sorry. How the fuck did this happen? How did they score? I don't remember. Here's a PSG note, though. While I softly I stall and I try to figure out what happened in that game. Because the truth is, my brain is just still thinking about the Madrid versus Madrid game. So the PSG thing is kind of out of my head. Varascalia. Do you say the T? Varascalia? Varascalia? What a name. Oh my God. What a name. You talk about a guy who, like, as an American, when you think about soccer, that's a guy who plays soccer. Varascalia. Holy shit, that's amazing. It's a syllables thing. Because you think about him, think about like Ronaldinho. It's a syllables game. But it doesn't have to be too many syllables. It could also be like Messi, Pele. Yeah, that's great. You know who doesn't have a good soccer name? Ronaldo. What benefits him is that his first name is Cristiano. It's a good first name, especially for a soccer player. But like, what if you put a little extra letter in there? What if you put another D in there? Ronaldo? That's a better soccer name. I don't think he has a good soccer name. He just does not. Varascalia. Holy fucking shit. Landon Donovan. Great soccer name. Tim Howard. That's not a good soccer name. Just not. Who's the Christian Pulisic? That's a good one. But who's the other kid? Dest? What's the first name? Something Hispanic. Sergio Dest. It's a great soccer name. I just love man, I cannot wait for the World Cup. Cannot wait. It's going to be here in America and Canada and in Mexico. But, like, cannot wait for that, right? PSG. Man. I'm so sorry. I'm butchering this. I watched the whole game, and I just apparently in this moment can't remember anything that happened in it. But, again, I think that's just because I'm kind of trying. I'm just sort of buying my time until I get to talk about Madrid, which is right now. So, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, second leg. Dog, I was, like, worried I was turning on the game kind of late. And when I tell you the fractions of seconds that I turned the game on was when Atletico scored. They scored 30 seconds into the fucking game to tie up the aggregate. 30 seconds into the game. What the? Huh? Oh, so it's going to be one of those. No. No, not really. No, because they went scoreless for the next 120 minutes. Yeah. Luka Modric got to start. That was cool. Took like every single corner, and every single time the broadcast booth was like, "Oh, this is who you want taking these corners." And then every single time it didn't work. It just wasn't good. It was I don't know, he would either sail it or go right to the keeper, or they would just take like a short ball and they would just, do the thing where they have like a second guy come up and they just do like a little tap to that guy, and then they run into whatever action they want. Their set pieces coach was fucking in shambles for that one, I'm sure. Also a very physical game. More like rivalry coded, though, obviously. Physical game. The official wasn't letting them get away with dick or balls, though. There were yellow cards being handed out like they were fucking deportations in the United States. Everybody was, you get a yellow, you get a yellow, you get a yellow, you get a yellow. Everybody was getting them. And I'm like, everything that they're doing in this game is exactly what they were doing in the Liverpool PSG game. But like only like 2 people got yellows in that one. I mean, okay. So that one goes the distance. It's not that they weren't without chances. We go to penalties. Both games end up going to penalties, the PSG-Liverpool game. I'm so fucking mad. As soon as this is over, I'm going to be like, dude, you forgot 10 things that you wanted to say about the PSG-Liverpool game. Shout out to PSG. It's in the air for them. I believe that they're going to go to the final. I don't know. They gotta run through Villa. Ollie Watkins, Marcus Rashford. I don't know. Keep an eye on Rashford. He'll probably sell. I think he's going to sell. Whether or not he's in the starting 11, he will play in both legs. I don't know, barring injury or something like that, and whatever games they play in the PL and then in training or something like that. Although I guess the reason that he ended up leaving United was because he is not good in practice. They're like, you don't train well at all. You're lazy as fuck. So he probably wouldn't get hurt there. I'm sorry. I'm fucking jerking you guys around. Can I rewind for just a second on the Liverpool thing? As somebody who has sat here and has been like, Darwin Nunez is awesome and you guys are all fucking babies and you're wrong. Liverpool was like, he plays like he's a 10-year-old and he's not good and he gets too excited. I just watch a guy who the opposing team's back line has to account for. Whether he's in the starting 11 or whether he gets subbed in the 60th. Like, it doesn't matter. As soon as he's in the game, you have to be very acutely aware of what Darwin Núñez is up to. And there were several moments after he got subbed into that game that you had to be aware of where he was on the field. Because he's so damn fast and he can just make shit happen immediately, right? So he had the assist in the first game, in the first leg against PSG. And then it was their next game against... Who's bottom of the table right now? Was it Southampton? They go down like, I don't think it was Southampton, but it might have been them. They go down like 1-0. Everybody's like, what the fuck? Rubbing their eyes like a goddamn Looney Tunes character. Liverpool losing at home. This does not happen. And then guess who ended up scoring later in that game? Their first goal in I don't know how long? Darwin Núñez. He was great. And he's been, the recent history would suggest, ever since the 10-year-old comment was made about Darwin Núñez, that he's playing really, really well. Well, then you go to fucking penalties. And the one guy who absolutely needed to make it did not. Fuck. So I made a community post on YouTube where I was like, I will have to reevaluate if he is actually the capital G guy with a little trademark symbol. I'm not actually reconsidering that. I still believe that he is. Sell him. Let him go. Put him on short-term loan. Like, I don't care. Let him go somewhere else. You guys don't even fucking like him. Let free Darwin Núñez. That's the take here. I don't care that he missed the penalty. Oh, fuck our European campaign. Oh, we lost to the Champions League. Dude, you won the English League. You won the EPL a month ago. So who cares? Fine. Oh, your European campaign is fucked. That's fine. You guys are still going to win the Premier League. Like, shout out to Darwin Núñez. Not for that. Darwin Núñez is not the sole reason that they did that. But he was on the team. So until he is no longer in the league, well, I say in the league, until he's like retired completely and he doesn't play professional soccer anymore, I'm going to like that guy. I think he's really, really good. But anyways, we go back to this Atletico and Real Madrid game. We get to penalties. Goddamn, the broadcast really fucked that one up, didn't they? I love the mind games of a penalty shootout. I'm such a sucker for it. I love the whole, like, I'm going to start on this side of the ball, and then I'm going to backpedal, and then I'm going to go to the other side of the ball, and then, I'm going to backpedal again. You don't know where I'm going? I don't know, Jim. You don't know where I'm going. And then they either blast it or they do, like, a little soft thing. But it's almost, the mind games of it is just so much fun. But it's like all you have to do is just look at their plant foot. If I'm the keeper, that's all I'm thinking about, right? I'm like, you can do your little fucking song and dance. You can do a little cartwheel and fucking take your dick out and twirl it over your head. But, like, I'm just going to watch where your plant foot goes, and that's the way that I'm going to dive. I don't have to predict, right? Well, what we saw, the reason I say that the broadcast fucked up was because who was it for Atletico that had the double hit? I didn't know that was a rule. Hand up, I didn't know that was a thing, that if your plant foot touches the ball like after you hit it, you just can't touch the ball twice when you're taking a penalty, otherwise it doesn't count. But that happened, and so even though he made it, it got taken off the board. But the broadcast was just so late to notify the audience of that because it was so on the margins. You just didn't know that it even happened. And then they never gave us an actual look at it. They showed a few angles, but they were all so far away. You were like, oh, I guess that counts. So, like, VAR, it sounds like got the call right. I've seen some alternative angles of it online, which is cool, but I would love to have seen that during the actual game because penalties, they just move so fast. I guess, to be fair, you don't have that much time to, like, actually look at the replays. Yeah, Real Madrid ends up winning. Atletico cannot kill the boogeyman, Kylian Mbappe. So if we look at you guys want to do this super duper quick? If we go Champions League, so we already said that it's going to be PSG and it's going to be Aston Villa. We also have, of course it's not going to fucking let me do this. Of course it's not going to let me do this. Well, okay, okay. Sorry. This is really bad podcasting. Bayern Munich and Inter. I don't like saying Inter But I don't like saying inner either. I don't know as an American, like with our accent, I don't know how I'm supposed to say inter. But you get what I don't know how I'm supposed to say it. Probably Bayern Munich. Arsenal, Real Madrid. Arsenal kicked the shit out of PSV. Shout out to Declan Rice. Shout out to Odegaard. Probably Real Madrid. I just love Bellingham so much. I love Asensio. Love Luka Modric. Mbappe. Barcelona, Borussia Dortmund. How funny is it that Borussia Dortmund is like good in the Champions League? How are they in the final 8? Aren't they like mid-table in the Bundesliga? The Bundesliga. Oh. What the fuck are they doing in there? I don't know. That's a coin flip. I don't know. PSG, Aston Villa. That one's going to be fun. I really believe, I don't care. Who knows? I'm just going to let it play out. I'm psyching myself out. I'm getting in my own head. I don't know. In terms of just talking about soccer. Once I start talking about it too much, I'm like, all right, you know. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this on Spotify, question for you really quick. Gamer tag history. You got any, have you been a single gamer tag guy your entire life, guy or gal, or thou, they, them, thou, your entire life? What's like if you've had multiple gamer tags in your life, what's one that you look back on and you're like, that one was dumb as fuck? Mine was my first one as a kid. I've had like 6. Sorry if I just bumped the table and that made a noise. I've had like 6 gamer tags in my life, give or take. First one I ever had was Fish Poop 14 on PS3. Pretty funny in retrospect. It's just like a middle schooler. Very funny, but very dumb. And then after that, this was like at the height of Phase and Optic. And so my friend and I wanted to like have our own thing. And it was, so he was Sympathetic Beard and I was Sympathetic Fro. And then after that, I went to Steph's Backup, which was like a nod to Steph Curry. This was probably about 10 years ago. I was Steph's Backup. And then since then, I have been Sconch, Sconsh, on all platforms. Sconch. It's just a funny word. It doesn't mean anything. Just thought it sounded funny, and so I just decided to do it. Sconch. What's your gamer tag history out there for you guys? What's the one that you look back on and you're like, fuck, that one was dumb. That one was really stupid. And then if you don't have an answer for that, double question, are you Excel proficient? You know about, you good with Excel? Or do you just lie and say that you are? Excel proficiency. Apple Podcasts. What's up? What's up? If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, nice little comment for the algorithm. Make sure to keep primary control in check. And I will catch you guys in the next one.